Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade, and this is a super special edition of Gutfeld. The good news is he's not here. Here are the top 7 reasons where he could be and why he's out this week. Number 7, he's having his ass done again. Same doctor who did Hannity's. Should come out good. Number 6, he's going on an apology tour for his last book. It was called The King of Late Night. In retrospect, he reread it, and he thought he didn't give himself enough credit for the success of the show and too much credit to the others. So look forward to that. Number 5, he needs some, only the crew laughed. Number 5, he needs some time to answer his hate mail, mostly from his own family. Number 4, he's installing new mirrors over his bed to make him look thinner and his life more exciting. Oh. Mental note, peel off the sticker that says objects in mirror are smaller than they appear. Let everyone else make their own decisions. Number 3, he's auditioning for Angela Lansbury's remake of Murder, She Wrote. It's a reboot, that's right. Unlike Angela, he wants to do his own stunts. It's the first mention of Angela Lansbury in the history of Gutfeld.
Actually,
probably not the last.
I'm an avid fan, and
Is
I
that
never
true?
missed an episode. Yes.
Murder, She Wrote. No wonder she knows what happened, because she wrote them.
Yep.
All right, number 2, he's surgically addressing his shortcomings, and I don't mean his height. And the number 1 reason Greg isn't here, he's launching a new instructional podcast, an all-poop joke format. It's Greg's wheelhouse and his outhouse. Let's do the monologue. So we got a new directive. It's gone out from the DNC headquarters. You ready for it? Where apparently the Obamas are indulging in a bit too much legal weed these days. The directive is that from now on, Donald Trump and Republicans are to be referred to as weird. That's a big drop-off from saying Trump is Hitler, and Adolf certainly was weird. Remember, he was a vegetarian. Hit it.
On the other side, they're just weird.
The 32 ounces of weird.
Donald Trump and his weirdo running mate.
And by the way, they are weird.
It is bizarre. It's weird. It is weird.
J.D. Vance, just dumb Vance, is pretty weird.
As weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
More extreme, more weird, more erratic.
Weird is perfect vernacular.
There's something a little weird with the Republican campaign. It's just they're weird. Mm-hmm. And no one wants to sit with the weird people.
Well, that is weird. I haven't seen marching orders like that since band camp. Great days. We haven't seen lockstep like this since last week when the Democrats threw out all their Democratic principles and canceled Joe like Bernie Sanders' haircut appointment. So what's going on here? Why is Donald Trump, who delivered prosperity, secure border, no foreign wars, suddenly weird? And he's no longer the worst thing to happen to democracy since women were given the right to vote.
A sexist would say.
Right. That was left over from last week. I bet Greg wrote it. So why is J.D. Vance, a self-made man, a Marine whose story personifies the American dream, weird? Could it be that the prior Democratic message that Trump and Vance were somehow a threat to democracy was going over as well as Michael Moore at a nude beach? Showing only a neck shot there for you guys. They needed a rebrand, like when the March of Dimes fell victim to curing polio.
What?
Give me a second. And the Dems needed a new way to convince us that a party that hit a president's dementia is suddenly a party everyday Americans should trust. It's sure looking that way, isn't it? And if today's Democratic Party calling anyone weird strikes you as, well, bizarre, welcome to normal. In scientific terms, I'm pretty sure this is called projection. It's taking negative traits of your own and imposing them on others. It's like when Gutfeld calls somebody short, ugly, and dumb. For the record, Tyrus did laugh. He just covered his face. Or it's like the cast of The View calling Trump fat. I didn't want to make a View joke, but Greg demands that of all his guest hosts. Tyrus, you're my witness.
Yes.
So just take a quick look at who's calling who weird. Roll it.
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right?
Say that phenomenon.
You know it.
Indeed, I do. I want to thank you and welcome you for being here. My pronouns are she and her. I'm Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit. My pronouns are she, her, and hers.
She, her, and her.
Who does that? Who tells people their pronouns when they meet them? If it takes more than 2 guesses, maybe you are the problem. I will tell you who, though. The DEI hires who define themselves as DEI hires. And before that upsets anyone out there, remember, that is what Joe Biden himself said. He'd hire a VP on the basis of race and gender, not me. Just because his memory is shot doesn't mean ours should be too. So what is the deal? Well, really, what we have here is a national level case of I know you are, but what am I? What am I? Because the truth is, when all is said and done, this is going to be a blue-collar election. The coastal elites are too busy with their version of democracy, a.k.a. watching their kids burn flags on campus, then complain about the lack of gluten-free cafeteria options. They would vote for Corey Feldman if he could bring down the price of gas and interest rates. From Goonies, remember? He peaked at 8.
He has an active music career right now. Just want to let everybody know.
All right, more on that later. We might blow the break to get more on the Corey Feldman update. A little bit of a surprise. You didn't say that during rehearsal. Now, most of the states are already fairly committed in how they're going to vote, and there should not be too many surprises. The Dems can tell themselves they have a shot at Florida, but Kamala couldn't carry Florida if she fixed the Super Bowl for the Dolphins. And the Republicans can say they will flip New York. They'll get close, but that's about as likely as Gutfeld switching to men's underwear or Steve Ducey picking up a check, any check at all. New York City has gone so far left, the city council here makes the Olympics opening ceremony looks like the 700 Club.
Damn.
No, in the end, this race is going to come down to the Rust Belt. Swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. They will tell the tale. And that tale is going to be told every day by working people like all of you. Blue-collar folks who want lower inflation, a strong economy, and cops in their neighborhoods who we like. They're folks who don't want to hear there's no money for them because the country is funding free breast implants for migrants. And to be fair, Greg is a huge supporter of free breast implants regardless of citizenship. So we just want to do that disclaimer. The Dems have a normal people problem, and they know it. So as we head into the Democratic National Convention next month, can't wait, the left's break with reality continues. And so what if we are weird? What's the big deal? I think Trump and Vance should own it, like the Democrats did with Dark Brandon, which they did. Sure, Trump is a little out there, but I always thought being weird is kind of cool. His Biden impression is so accurate, he can't tell you why he quit the race either. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. She is my third favorite Morgan after JP and Freeman, host of the Morgan Ortega Show on Sirius XM. It is Morgan Ortegas. She is thinner than Greg's patience. New York best-selling author and Fox News contributor Kat Timpf is here, ladies and gentlemen. And Grizzly Bears play dead around him. New York Times bestseller, author, comedian, former NWA world champion, Pirate. All right, Tom, what's wrong with being weird?
You know what? You made so many good points in that monologue. Let me see if I can try to make some other alternate points. The first point you made, which is excellent, is that they gave him a kind of a downgrade. You know, they went from dictator down to weird. Now, it proves that they're not really that concerned that he was going to be a dictator, because then, you know, if they go to weird. The other thing is, if they're attacking his running mate, then, it doesn't mean... I thought they were worried about Trump. So why are they attacking the running mate? I think because they know that Trump is very strong, especially in those swing states that they need so badly. The other thing is, it's kind of feminine. I mean, the whole thing with J.D. Vance, how he got on the bad side of all these Hollywood celebrities and these other childless cat ladies and everything, is that he made a remark about single women, okay? But this whole weird thing is kind of like a single woman thing. Like, women call people weird. I don't know any guys who are like, he's weird, he's weird. Like, it's just very wimpy to do that. And to see these guys, like Tim Walz comes out, he's like, it's just weird. And they're all reading the script. That's the worst part about it, that they got their marching orders and they said the word weird all at the same time yesterday. But you know what's funny is that old guys like Chuck Schumer, he still can't go with the new word. Like they told him, Chuck, you have to say weird. And he was like, he's extreme and weird. Like he didn't want to say it.
Because he doesn't get it.
Yeah, he doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they understand it. I don't think they're going to go on this thing for very long because, like you said, everybody knows Trump is weird. That's why we like him.
Right. Morgan, Tom says it's going to stop. Do you think they're going to keep drumming that through to November?
Listen, I'm so impressed that the Democratic Party and their friends in the mainstream media can speak with one voice and the same message. There is no way, like we try in our party, we're so chaotic, we're so disorganized, like we couldn't get on message if we tried. So coming from someone who ran communications at the State Department, I actually look at this and I'm like, I'm jealous. How do you get everybody to do this? It's impressive.
But they don't care how stupid they look. They're all saying the same thing. It shows a lack of creativity. It almost was days when they say you just fax your talking points to people. Hey, Kat, I did a little bit of research. I haven't been to Portland or Austin lately, but evidently on their signs it says keep Portland weird and keep Austin weird.
Yeah.
So are we supposed to divorce those two cities from the 50 states?
No, I think weird is good just in general. Yeah. I also, that's not the reason I don't support a politician, any politician, because of their weird. My issue with any politician is them wanting to maybe legislate my weird. You know, they want to say you can't do these things or we're going to take your money and spend it on these things. So I don't understand who would be motivated against voting for someone because they're weird. I don't see it as a win. And also, Trump, the weirdest thing, I don't know, when it comes to my mind, why people think he's weird, you know what comes to my mind? Do you guys remember this? I mean, this is so long ago, but when he said he wanted to buy Greenland.
Yeah.
Wait, that was
kind of cool.
I loved that.
Right. I'm just that was so long ago, but do you not remember? I bet you they still talk about it over there.
Right. I mean, I wish we had Greenland. I'm going to put my money together or certainly keep my passbook savings and get it ready. Tyrus, this is an effort to look young, to appeal to young voters, perhaps. Is that possible?
I don't think the party that goes after everyone for calling anybody out on anything, like now we want to call names. Do we really want to play that game?
I know.
You really want to call names? Like you're not going to be able to hop in your safe box if you want to ride this through because do we have the photo? And I get why. If you're normal, if this is your normal who you hang out with, then obviously these two dudes would seem weird to you.
Right.
So weird is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We all get weird. We all got a little weird. Some of us keep our weird at home. We keep it locked up. Some of us show our weird in our socks. You can get a close-up of that? This right here, that's weird.
Right.
Okay?
It's
that's
patriotic.
Weird.
A lot of people say patriotic.
Yes, is it weird that this man loves his country?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's weird. Most people wear a pin. You got it covered. The point is, we're all weird. But do you want to start calling names? Really? Do you want to go there? So I don't think they want to go there. They might want to rethink this. Whoever's writing this, you need to check yourself because you want to call names with him.
Right, I hear you.
Enjoy yourself.
And by the way, just dumb, J.D. Vance is an Ivy League grad who goes on to fight in the Marines.
I don't think names calling is the way to go.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah,
hey, Tom,
Navarro is a genius.
No offense, but your industry, your comedy industry is full of weird people. They entertain America. You got to be a little weird to be successful. Look at Elon Musk, and I compare you and Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, just go to Joe Mackey, for God's sakes.
Right. Is there a difference? Which one created SpaceX? Was it Joe Mackey? I am not sure. But
and he is weird. And another reason, this is why people love Elon Musk. He's weird. He's unpredictable. He says whatever he thinks. That's probably why he likes Trump now.
If I were Elon Musk, I would just give Joe Mackey $1 billion.
You would just...
Yes.
More on Joe Mackey later. He might even make a guest appearance. All right, guys, great job on the weird. It seemed kind of normal. Up next, White Dudes Binge on Kamala Cringe.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.